Hi, and welcome back to our series about what a developer should know about UX design. My name is Salla.
And I am Kirsi. We are both UX designers working at Ericsson. In this video, we will be discussing what to take into account when starting to work on a new feature.
First, we should really consider who is the user of the feature that we are designing and developing, and what are their needs for it.
Yeah. So ask the questions, important questions: what, why, and who. First, what is the problem you are trying to solve? So why is this solution needed?
For example, I like to start with, do they need this kind of feature in the first place? What value can this feature bring to them, and what kind of needs do the users have for this feature? And then what tasks do they need to take care of with this feature?
Yeah. So does this feel some actual need, and does it feel it in an optimal way? In other words, consider what is the problem to be solved and solve it the right way. The next big question is, who is the user? So the solutions are built for users, as in human beings, so they need to be usable and useful for the human beings. You know that even the most beautiful technical solution will fail if it's not usable or useful for the humans who use them. So after determining the problem, deep dive into what will the solution contain. So what is the minimum viable product?
So if we now consider that we are familiar with our users, we can start going into the solution space more, figuring out what will our final solution be like. What I like to think first is that what requirements or ideas do we have for this feature already? Where do they originate from? And can I trust those sources? Should I take them into account when designing? Then, as we know our users, we know something about their needs. I think it's very useful to consider yourself, how could this be solved? So thinking about the solutions that you might come up with. Then if we would be designing something very common like a user settings feature, it would be super useful to do some benchmarking. How have others solved the same problems that you are now trying to solve? I think this would include, for example, looking what kind of features have others given their users in user settings, and also considering what do our users need. So just because somebody put a feature there doesn't mean that our users are necessarily gonna need those. So being very strict about what value will this feature bring to us, just because there is an idea doesn't necessarily mean it's a good idea and we should actually do it.
Yeah. Then the real deal would be going to the users. You could go and actually ask them how do they deal with the problem in question currently, and how would they like it to work. You could also do some initial sketching. You could try creating a paper prototype, for example, and show it to the end users and ask their opinions about it. But really remember, this is a very iterative process, so it might require a few rounds of iteration before you actually hit the target.
Yes, I think that's super important to keep in mind, that this is an iterative process, not the first solution is necessarily the best one.
Yes.
And while all of these tasks that we just discussed are really on the UX designer's table, I think it's super important to understand the high-level design process, and especially the exploration phase that takes place before the UX designer can even reach the drawing table and start placing buttons. That it takes time to really dig deep into the users and their needs, and that's very valuable for us to reach a working, useful and usable solution for our users.